such a pleasure to speak with you. I'm Sophia Soto from the Nerds of Color. And as someone who grew up watching iCarly, I cannot tell you how excited I am to see the revival. It looks absolutely amazing.
Awesome. Oh, thanks.
All right.
One thing that I really love is it's for the fans that grew up watching the show. So I was wondering, how did it feel to revisit these characters in their, adult years after all this time? And what made you sort of feel like this was the right time to do this revival?
Well, I think one thing that was definitely really important to all of us was that we made the show mostly with the original fans in mind, because I feel like a lot of revivals don't go, like, especially with kids shows, they don't go from being a kids show to being a show for adults because the audience has grown up. So that's just been really exciting, getting to explore all that and do something that's new and different. As far as falling into the characters, it felt really easy, for me at least. I sort of felt nervous at first, and then as soon as we started doing it and going over the scenes and stuff, it felt like we just fell right back in.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a risk, isn't it? It's like when we first started talking about it, it was like, do we go do it again, like just for kids? But it's like, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair to you, Sophia. Just abandon you like that? No. So it's a more interesting take to go, well, what if this Nickelodeon world didn't turn out quite the way they had imagined, and real life kind of happens, and now tonally and the jokes can mature, and we can the situations can mature, and it's less wacky, but the iCarly satirical, broad, weird world still exists. But now we're satirizing this modern internet, how it's evolved. This show has evolved.
Yeah, I think that's been really the fun of it, is we know that, when we were thinking about what this was going to look like as we were piecing this together, we know that a lot of life has happened to us in these last 9 years, and knowing like, well, it must have happened to Carly and Spencer and Freddie too. So what are those things? It was a really fun kind of exploration to sort of nail down where they find themselves. And it's such an open book as far as situations that they can now find themselves. And we have so much runway as adults to approach really hilarious, but also challenging and real situations. What are you doing? What is this?
I'm landing on the runway of life.
Yes, but you're taking off on the runway of life.
Whoa!
That's it. You're going that way. That's right. So it's been great to know that we can like now tackle relationships, parenthood, jobs, all of these things that we never would have had a chance to do before. And all the things that our fans who were kids are now starting to have to deal with. They get to watch this show, and we get to do life in parallel with them, which I think is very fun and special, and something that you don't really get to see every day. So that's been fun to figure out what those stories are and what might be most satisfactory to the fans.
Well, I have to say, I thank you for that, because it's nice to be able to grow with the show and not have it directed towards the kid audience. And This is the revival I've been the most excited about ever, just saying.
All right.
It's for you.
And I have to ask you, like you said, you almost think the characters are growing too during this time. And what was your reaction to finding out what the characters were up to after all these years? And did you in your head sort of have a prediction of, if we ever revisit it, this is what I would imagine this would be, they would be doing?
I think for me, my character in the pilot is starting her web show iCarly for the first time in 10 years. And that was exactly what I was doing in real life with the show. So a lot of things mirrored my real life, especially in the pilot episode. I hadn't really thought so much about what Carly had been through. So it's been really fun figuring it out. I don't know, Nathan, did you think you'd have 2 divorces under your belt, your character?
No, weirdly, no.
I thought that about him.
Of course you did. That was your idea. That's the reason why this happened. It's funny. I had always, like, in interviews and stuff, you always get asked after the show's over, so what do you think Freddie's doing now after all these years? I always had that, I have a connection to Freddie and I want to see the best for him. So I was just assuming, he went off, he did a tech startup and he's, super rich. He's the next Steve Jobs. He's very happy. And that would have been the end of the story, except that it took this very dystopian turn where it started to happen that way, and then every bad thing happened. And now you find him just kind of at the end of his rope and on rock bottom and starting over, which is fun because, you know, when I was imagining it after the show was over, it was with the assumption of, well, we're not coming back to see those stories, so I'm just going to imagine a happy ending. But now that we're coming back and we get to see these stories, hopefully we get to see that destination happen, but it's a whole lot more interesting to see where
you started.
To see what happens when you have to get there from rock bottom. And a lot of funny stuff can happen at rock bottom, turns out.
And let me tell you, Sophia, you and everybody will be very happy to know that Spencer hasn't changed a bit.
Best news all day. Just saying.
Just saying.
Except you're very rich.
That's a difference.
Yeah.
That was just guessing.
Personality wise.
Still got it.
Well, one other thing that I appreciated was seeing all those fun, familiar faces in the promo. So what was it sort of like getting to reunite with everyone in the setting again?
It's amazing. It's kind of awesome. It's weird, but it's amazing because, like, we were talking about Reed coming back to play Neville, and it's just like that episode is it's a very iCarly feeling episode. I don't want to spoil anything, but it takes place at a wedding, and it's hijinks ensue, and he's there, and it's weird, but it's also there. Nathan could attest there's some grown up conversations happening, but he's moved on. Reed has moved on in his life, and he's like a financial advisor or something now. And he was so game, and he came back, and he was so hilarious, and it's just like riding a bike. It's like everybody's putting on just comfortable shoes, and it's like, this is fun. We're just having fun. This is just gonna be fun.
I love that. And lastly, I have to point out that we had that little tribute to the old iCarly when Carly pulled out the crib and we saw baby Spencer is going to happen again. What other fun little tributes can you tease? Are we going to see, spaghetti tacos, random dancing? I'm guilty of actually trying a spaghetti taco, just saying, for the last episode of iCarly. Listen, I made my whole family for the last episode of iCarly. I'm like, we're eating spaghetti tacos. That's going to be our dinner. Just saying.
What did you think?
Did you like it?
I loved it. I'll eat it again for the premiere.
There you go. I'll do it too. Solidarity.
There you go.
I think that's one of the things that we've really tried to balance in this show is, as much as we want it to be new and fresh and different and have a lot of new voices and introduce new characters, we really wanted to pull from the nostalgia element of it too, because there are so many things that made up that universe, and it was so rich. We would be remiss if we didn't pull as much as possible from those things that made up our lives. So I think that you can definitely expect some nostalgic little bits to come through here and there. I think that's going to be one of the fan favorite elements of the show is how new it is, but how much we still have bits and pieces that feel fun.
Yeah, for sure. And a couple of the things that I like the most are that we brought the pair phones back, but they're a little bit different.
Oh, I love that.
They're like the updated version of the pair phones. And like when we send pictures to each other, we say we're pair dropping them, or we still very much kept all the pair stuff. And then, we still have the bottle bot that was in every episode of iCarly. They actually, the original creator of the bottle bot created a new one, and it looks pretty much exactly the same. And it's back in Spencer's apartment.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to speak with me. I'm so excited to see the show, and this was such a fun interview. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Of course. Have a great rest of your day and stay safe.
Too.
Thank you guys.
You bet. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Congrats again.
Thank you.
You.